So here's a surefire way to increase your productivity and get more out of life in a quicker span of time. So imagine for a second that you are building 3 houses, and each of those houses take a full month's work of your time to do. You now have 2 choices in the way you're going to attack those 3 houses. You can either build all 3 houses at the same time, or you can build those 3 houses one after another. Now, if you build all 3 houses at the same time, what do you get? You get all the houses being done exactly after 3 months. If you do one house after another, the first house is done after 1 month, the second one is done after the second month, and the third is done after the third month. By the way, you also get feedback on the completion of those tasks along the way. So you've, in other words, reduced the average production time down to 2 months from 3 months. You've actually already gotten the first benefit of being able to sell the first house after 1 month. So what is my point here? My point is I find so many people who work on 5 tasks and they do 10% on one task, it's 10% on the next, 10% on the third, 20% for. Instead of just saying, look, I'm going to complete the first task, I'm going to get it done, then I'm going to go to the second task, and I'm going to get it done. So every single time I'm seeing somebody work on multiple tasks, I'm like, prioritize these tasks. Figure out what's most important and get that one done first, and then move to the other one and do that one afterwards. So I think one really, really hard thing that I don't think people think about at all, and I think this is one of the hardest things, whether you're building a business or whether you're working or whatever you're doing, is to really understand, when should I do 80-20? When should I do 100%? When should I do 50%? When should I do 30% of a task? And look, there's no clear-cut answer, but it's really, really interesting to think about it, because that is everything about productivity. When should I deliver perfection? When is good great? When is great perfect? And I don't think anyone gives us that answer. I don't think anybody has the answer, but I think it's something that we have to work with in our mind to figure out, when should I do this 100%? When should I do it 70%? I find so many people who try to deliver 100% on things that they should do 80% on. I find so many people who try to deliver 50% on something they should deliver 100% on. So it's really about figuring out, when should I do it? And very often, and this is my hint to you, is very often in the process, it's I spend 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes up front, and I do 50, 70% of the work. Then I get some market feedback, or I get some inside feedback from people that I work with, and then I go and deliver 100%. If you go and try to deliver 100% up front, which a lot of people like to do, and then they go and test it in the market, then they have to change everything. It's a bit like a building. You don't build the whole building, decorate and everything else, and you figure out if the market likes it. You sort of do your drawings first, you do all the planning, you do everything, then you go and show it and you get some feedback from it, and you see, do people want to buy it, do they not want to buy it, etc. And then you still have the chance to change it. But working out when to do 80-20, when to do 70, when to do 100, that's a key way to improve your productivity. So here's a fascinating thing. People are very, very careful in the way they invest their money. They're investing their money wisely, they're investing their money smartly, they're afraid to take risk. And what I'm fascinated by is that people don't deploy the same mindset when they're thinking about time. How do you invest your time? Money you can always make back, time you can never make back, because there's an old saying that says. So how are you investing your time? What kind of mechanisms are you using to evaluate how you're investing your time along the way? Are you using it wisely, productively, on the right things? Are you using the right mix between what you want to gain today and what you want to gain tomorrow? My only advice here is invest your time wisely and think about it like you would do money.
So the very famous coach Anthony Robbins says, whenever you make a decision, take massive action. And to be honest, I always thought about that in a private setting, meaning I want to get in shape. I go and I run really hard, or whatever it is, what my capacity can take. But I have actually realized it is so true for execution in all areas of our world as well. So for example, one of my colleagues, he wanted to find a telemarketing agency to help support us in telemarketing efforts in a particular area. Now what most people would do is they would contact 1 or 2 or 3 telemarketing companies, and they would sit there and they would figure out what the best one. He did it very differently. I love him for this. He went and contacted over 20 different telemarketing agencies, had calls with all of them, or meetings in one day. He works very hard. Calls and meetings with them all in one day. That means at the end of the day, he's learned the nuances of what makes a good company and what makes a bad company. He's able to negotiate with multiple parties. He's able to select the best telemarketing partner out of a much better sample size than just looking at 3 people. And he's become much smarter in the process, including which he has a backup options now if it fails. It's the same for me. When I want to find a lawyer, I don't go and talk to one lawyer, I go and talk to 20 lawyers and have a conversation about them, ask them challenging questions. I learn from each of them what I should ask the next person about, and then I go and finally select it. So my point is, whenever you want to do something execution, try to find a way to take massive action. That works in 90% of all cases.